stimulates economic growth, especially when domestic financing is inadequate. It also improves total factor productivity through an increase in output, which in turn enhances gross domestic product (GDP) in the growth of a nation. Foreign debt has remained one of the major challenges facing low-income nations like Nigeria due to the constant budget deficits, unfavorable balance of payment, and most importantly, the inevitable need for industrialization. Thanks for joining us today on TV and Business Daily. I am Chiwendu Usisiago, and today we shall be discussing the COVID-19 pandemic, that is the implications on Nigerian soaring debt profile. But first, let's look at the business stories making headlines. The federal government on Sunday said its new national forest policy would boost current efforts of addressing various climate change challenges across the country. The Ministry of Environment, Mahmoud Abubakar, disclosed this in a statement issued in Abuja on Sunday by the Director Press, Federal Ministry of Environment, Sagi El Mohammed. And the statement started new national forest policy to preserve ecosystem. Environment Minister Abubakar said before the approval of the NFP, it was subjected to review by various stakeholders. Abubakar said the new policy was anchored on the need for continuous socio-economic development in a sustainably managed environment that would contribute to achieve the sustainable development goals. The filling stations owners are currently in panic buying mode, as many of them are stockpiling products ahead of the announcement of a new pump price for petrol in August, investigation has shown. It was also gathered that the price of the commodity might increase to about 150 naira per litre, as the committee saddled with the task of fixing petrol price had been meeting and would make the new price public soon. Marketers and officials of the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency told our correspondent in Abuja on Sunday that the rise in crude oil price in the international market could lead to an increase in petrol price. The National President, Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, Billy Gillies Harry, said many marketers who had stockpiled products were ready to sell at the current rates regardless of any increase. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disbursed 152.9 billion naira for 61 manufacturing projects on the part of its intervention funds. The Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele disclosed this in a report of its communique at the last monetary policy meeting, which was obtained on Friday. It said the committee recognized the supportive developmental roles of the CBN towards addressing some of the structural issues. The MPC specifically expressed optimism on the future impact of 50 billion naira household and SME facility, out of which 49.195 billion naira had been disbursed to over 92,000 beneficiaries, it said. Emefiele mentioned the 100 billion naira healthcare and 1.0 trillion naira manufacturing and agricultural intervention to support the rebound in growth from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. Deposit money banks on August 1st commenced the implementation of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Global Standing Instruction, which allows them to recover outstanding debt from debtors from other banks. Experts who spoke to our correspondent said the implementation would help to differentiate real wealthy businessmen from debtors businessmen. A former President Trade Union Congress, Peter Esele, said the guideline was long overdue, but added that it was better late than never. He said the CBN and the banks would start giving the credit scores. And that's the business update on Television Nigerian. I am Chiwendu Usisiago. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerian Trading Group is a conglomerate of partnerships. Partnership with you. Partnership through investment for profit, investment for returns, cutting across various corporate business spheres. Benignet offers you credible 15% returns on all investment with us. Benignet Trading Group, your choice's investment management company, has become a reality with the marketplace administrators carefully selected as young bright minds who would spearhead this move into creating more prosperity and distributing them. This is what we mean by benignance. So come, be benignant with our increasing community of happy and enthusiastic investors. Why not call us at any of our offices closest to you or dial our number? You'll be glad you did. You deserve the benignant touch.
BTG is your friend. BTG is your partner. BTG is your handbag. Yes, we are that flexible to become your handbag. We are your servants too. In the sense that we are using our information we've gathered, the knowledge we've come into, the understanding and mastered to bring you profit. Yeah, BTG takes the risk for you. BTG is your conduit to become better. We also give you return on investment on a monthly basis. Formerly it was 6%, but now it's from 7% to 15% return on investment monthly, which is categorized by capital.
You can call us on 0907 685 9446 or 0909 22 97081 or visit us on www.benignantcg.com. We are your reliable conduit.
Thanks for staying with us, and if you're just joining us, it's TV and Business Daily. Like I said earlier, we shall be discussing on the implications of Covid-19 on the Nigerian sovereign debt profile. My guest is here in the studio. He is the public affairs analyst and the President's League of Africa Development Students leads Mr. Morgan, or Comrade Morgan Ochako. You're welcome to TV and Business.
Thank you very much, and good morning.
Good morning. And how was the weekend?
Oh, we thank God. It has been a very long weekend.
Okay.
The Salah break and then the usual weekend. So I think it's been a very wonderful 4 day rest for some of us.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, well, now what can you say about the Nigerians' debts? Because as of now, I think the debt is 28.36 trillion naira.
Oh, 28.36 trillion naira is quite a debt for a country like Nigeria to be owing at this particular point in time. We want to understand that for whatever it seems to take up debt for, they should be very viable ventures. And again, the worrisome part of the whole issue is the pace of time that Nigerian has accumulated this debt is too short a time frame for us to build it up to that amount of money. Now, what becomes of a country like Nigeria if we continue in this trend in the next 5-6 years? It will go beyond normal. It will go beyond what we can actually handle, a situation where we can call total quagmire for a country like Nigeria. So 28 points, whatever trillion naira as a debt, for me, is a very huge debt at this particular point in time for a country like Nigeria.
So are you saying we have a great deal of problem because of the debt?
Of course we do. If we look at events and how they play out around us, you want to agree with me that we do. We do because what are your output in terms of production or whatever this debt are being for whatever ventures this debt are being channeled for? Are they for productive ventures or are they for consumption? Now, if you want to look at our situation, that is the Nigerian case study, it becomes very, very worrisome, because if you actually go to seek for loans and then you are indebted and you're able to invest those money in very viable ventures, that is productive ventures that in turn brings about turnaround, you wouldn't have much to worry about, because it's like putting the money in a spin. You understand? But if you borrow and then you borrow for consumption, there's no turnover at the end of the day. you are always going to be plunging deeper. Just for instance, when a government borrows only to fund vehicles for her officials and then pay for houses for officials and the rest of it, those are not productive ventures. Those becomes for consumption, for purpose of consumption. And whenever you borrow for such purposes, you are only putting yourself into deeper trouble, because it has to, this cash in question or whatever it is that you have borrowed for should in turn be able to service this loan or even pay for them. But if it is not productive, it becomes a problem, and to a very large extent, that is the issue with Nigeria as a country at the moment.
So what sector do you think the government should actually put focus on the debt so that it can bring funds for the country?
Infrastructure, human capital. Those are very, very productive ventures. And in trying to do those things, you also need to check your goal. You need to check your long-term goal and then your short-term goals. If you borrow to invest in a long-term productive goal, there's no harm. Every countries of the world, even as big as American is, American borrows. In fact, if you check on the debt profile, I think America is one of highest country on debt profile. Even as big as they are, as robust as their economy is. Now, that is where professionalism comes into play in terms of the big players that pushes a country's economy. It is just like a normal, it's just like me and you now. You have this amount of money that you can actually invest in a very short-term project, and then I come before you and I say there's a long-term project, or won't you invest in this long-term project? And you say, I don't have the cash to do that. I say, okay, don't worry. I'll give you the money to do this long-term project, but you're going to pay back with a certain amount of interest and within a certain period of time. You want to look at it and say, okay, it's worth taking the risk. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the risk is you are using my fund to invest in this business now. Now, if the business eventually yields profits, and you are able to pay me back, it is more like everything came to you on a platter of gold. You understand? You only took risk with my money. Right? Now, where there's a problem is where you are not able to manage that fund well. And then it becomes a problem for you because you need to start paying me. You understand? That is it. So it's practical. It's not different from what we are stating here. For instance, I have seen this government embarking on several long-term projects like construction of rail line here and there, or roads, and then bridges and the rest of it. Those are very viable projects. Those are projects that can in turn boost the economy of a country. If you borrow to do such projects, you should also have drawn your mathematical calculation to see that within the period of time, what are the terms of conditions that goes with this debt? Do you service them to what extent, within what period? Now, this project I'm putting in place, am I going to make output that should cover whether for servicing or for payment within this certain period of time? If they are viable, then you go into them. You understand? So that it does not become the case of robbing Peter to pay Paul. You do not collect money to invest in infrastructure like rail, and then you begin to take money from agriculture and begin to pay for that. You understand? So if you are investing in whatever ventures, it should be a venture that will in turn yield output for you to be able to service or pay for those loans that you have used such debt for.
Yeah, agreed. So do you think that the government must borrow?
Of course.
For the economy to thrive?
Yes, the government should borrow, like I said. It stands on the advantage of the government. That is, if your homework is properly in place, and then the economic team players are actually on ground to do what they ought to do. Like I gave a typical example now. The government have several other ventures to embark on. The government have several short-term goals, and then short-term projects rather, And then there's this long-term project, also project that will take you from now till the next 10, 15 years to be able to conclude. You can borrow to embark on such projects. And then for short-term projects, you can look inward, look at what you have, and then deal with those ones from within. Now, the implication is you are investing this cash within on short-term projects because you are expecting immediate turnover. Now, if you are able to yield good turnover immediately, it also helps you invest in other facets of the economy, not minding the long-term project that is going on there that you have actually borrowed to service.
So at the moment now, who pays back this debt? Because whether we like it or not, all of us are owing. So who pays back the debt?
The onus is on the government to pay back those debts. Now the government does it, or rather let me say, we are all responsible for the payment of this debt. But that should be in a favorable working environment. When I say we are all responsible, nobody is going to come and ask you and say, madam, bring this amount of money, we need to go service this loan. But if our tax regime is properly in place, if things are done the way they ought to be done, for instance, you take a debt for the construction of a federal highway, right? And then at the border of every state, you have this toll gate like what it used to be. And then every motorist comes to that checkpoint, or rather that toll gate, and they pay a token. You are paying those tokens to also service for the loan you have taken for the construction of that road. That is under a proper working condition where things are done properly. You understand? Now, the government is now collecting from the individuals who this road have been of services to without even you knowing. You understand? So, invariably, you are paying and I am paying. Because if the motorist gets to that point and they have to pay 500 naira, it would have been built into whatever fare you are paying to travel. So indirectly, everybody pays. But the onus is on the government to actually control how these funds comes in and also control how these debts are being services or paid. So I think everybody, the onus is on all of us to pay, but through the proper supervision of the government.
All right, thank you so much. So with the rising external debt, what exactly is the implication it has on the Nigerian economy at large?
Well, if you mention that you want to begin to look at certain factors like how the debt profile of a nation actually affects the GDP of that particular nation. And again, 28 trillion naira is quite an amount of money. And it will have its adverse effects on Nigeria. I say so because the strength of every nation economically depends on your foreign reserve. It also depends on your sovereign wealth. Now, if your debt profile, the higher your debt profile, the lower your foreign reserve. Because you cannot have bulky foreign reserve and then you also come and you also have very, very bulky debt profile. So it's more like you are going this way and this one is coming this way. You understand? And for every thriving economy, if you look at their foreign reserve or sovereign wealth, of course, you will know that there's something to look forward to. And for such countries, you now notice their debt profile is such control that it can lie within the context of what they have in the foreign reserve or their sovereign wealth.
All right, thank you. Okay, before we go on a quick break, let's take this last one. How long do you think Nigeria will continue to pay this debt back?
It depends on the terms of agreement. Like I said before now, every loan has its terms of agreement, and that the terms depends on the duration of time you should pay back this loan, whether you are paying instrumentally, whether you can service the debt within a period of time. So it actually depends on those factors. Now, where the problem is are we able to meet up with these terms of agreement? If we are not, then it will take much longer than the time we should pay. And like most debt, if you are not able to meet up to your terms of condition, there are other steep penalties that comes along with it. The question is, are we ready for those steep penalties? But if we don't do what we ought to do, then we'll have no choice than to be tied down by those steep penalties. So it actually depends on the period of time that is stipulated in the contract or the debt agreement. So there's no specific period of time for anybody to
pay. It does depend on the agreement.
It all depends on whatever the agreement is.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Comrade Morgan Ocheko. Let's take a quick break, then after the break, we'll continue with our discussion. So stay with us.
Benignan Trading Group is a conglomerate of partnerships. Partnership with you. Partnership through investment for profit. Investment for returns, cutting across various corporate business spheres. Benignan offers you credible 15% returns on all investment with us. Benignan Trading Group, your choice's investment management company, has become a reality with the marketplace administrators carefully selected as young bright minds who would spearhead this move into creating more prosperity and distributing them. This is what we mean by benignant. So come, be benignant with our increasing community of happy and enthusiastic investors. Why not call us at any of our offices closest to you or dial our number? You'll be glad you did. You deserve the benignant touch.
BTG is your friend. BTG is your partner. BTG is your handbag. Yes, we are that flexible to become your handbag. We are your servants too. In the sense that we are using our information gathered, the knowledge we've come into, the understanding and mastered to bring you profit. Yeah, BTG takes the risk for you. BTG is your conduit to become better. We also give you return on investment on a monthly basis. Formerly it was 6%, but now it's from 7% to 15% return on investment monthly, which is categorized by capital.
You can call us on 0907 685 9446 or 0909 22 97081 or visit us on www.benignantcg.com. We are your reliable conduit.
Thanks for staying with us, and we've been discussing on the implications on Nigerian soaring debt profile. That's the COVID-19 whole pandemic. And of course, my guest is here. It is Comrade Morgan Ocheko, the president of League of Africa Development Students, and of course, a public affairs analyst. Okay, now currently, the external debt is 28.63 trillion as last time I checked. I don't know if it has increased.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you think that with this debt, Nigerian can still borrow more money?
It depends on for what you want to borrow. There are better windows of opportunity for you to borrow. You can still borrow. Again, but going forward, you must ensure that for the ones you've already accumulated, there are plans already in place to either service or pay them, and you are not lacking in terms of carrying out these plans. If these factors are actually in place, there's no harm borrowing, so long as the for whatever reasons you want to borrow is quite productive and then can yield the return that's required to pay back or service such debt. Now, there's an argument that's been making around over the last couple of days, like you hear people saying Nigeria has sold her sovereignty to China as a result of a particular amount of money that was borrowed, I think about $400 billion or so for rail project and the rest of it. Initially, I became very, very worried. But again, when I read a brief on the Minister of Transportation's view on the whole issue yesterday, I now had to pause and then begin to have a rethink. Because I was wondering why a country would want to sell her sovereignty to another country on the course of borrowing. But again, I think we need to be putting in proper perspective so that the common masses on the street don't begin to panic over what they shouldn't panic over. I read from the minister's brief where he was saying these loans were collected and the terms of agreement was for Nigeria to pay this loan back within 20 years. And that nobody gives out loan for free. That means there are commitments you make. And that according to what he said, that prior to signing the loan agreement, that he said, on the sovereignty of Nigeria, I promise to pay this loan. You understand? And now from whatever government or from whatever channel these funds are coming from, made them understand, okay, when I come back, when you don't pay back this loan, and I come back to get what belongs to me, I wouldn't want you to put your immunity before me and stuff like that. Now some people misinterpreted that as selling Nigerian sovereignty to China. And I don't think it was so. We had similar issues sometimes back when there was also this news making around that the Chinese government has taken over Zambia and the rest of it. I was privileged to be in Zambia in 2018, where I was also privileged to sit with the Minister of Home Affairs of Zambia, which is what we refer to as Minister of Internal Affairs in Nigeria. And then we talked. I was curious enough to ask these questions. And the man actually explained everything to me. He was not like, okay, this is my office. This is the Ministry of Defense right in front here. That's the police force headquarters and the rest of them. That there are things they've read over social media too, that if you come to Zambia, the head of military is Chinese, the head of the police force is Chinese. I can look around for myself. If I will see even a single Chinese person wearing the Zambian military uniform or stuff like that. So you see, like, if news of this nature comes to play, people tend to interpret it the way they understand it. But is it what it really means? I think that is where a lot of people, or especially on the masses angle, needs to be clarified on certain issues. For me as a Nigerian, it worries me that we need to go as far as borrowing up to that amount. But again, if you want to look back, it owes to several years of misrule. It owes to several years of mismanagement of resources. Or because ordinarily, the things you borrow for these days, the things you try to invest for these days are things that should have been put in place long ago. But again, the people in charge, do they have the willpower? Do they have the interests of this country at heart? Or is it for selfish purpose? So those are things that should give us concerns and not whether Nigeria should borrow or not.
All right, but do you think Nigeria as a country is on the edge of bankruptcy? And exactly where are we heading to?
Of course, again, like I said, if you do a juxtapose between this incurred debt and then you want to look at what we have on our foreign reserve or our sovereign wealth, you want to agree so. Because I don't have the perfect picture, but from what I know, I think the debt is almost overshooting what you have on your foreign reserve. It's just like you have 1,000 naira here now. That's the cash you have. But you are owing a debt of 10,000 naira. That means if you want to read, you are already minus 9,000 naira in debt. So I think it is worrisome. We must accept that is the angle we are heading. And Nigerians must act and do what is right. The situation has not gone beyond the redeemable. We still can redeem whatever situation we are in terms of our debt profile. But we must begin to act. And acting means putting the right things in place, ensuring that you are meeting up with whatever agreement you have on table as regards for whatever loans you've collected, so that we don't begin to have backlogs. So it is when you have those backlogs, that is where the problem is. So for me, if things are not put in place, I see a very, very big, big issue with where we are heading.
All right, thank you so much, Comrade Morgan. So what's your final take now, and what's the alternative way out for Nigeria?
The alternative way for Nigeria is the government should look inward, develop human capital, which is what most countries of the world do these days. For instance, the world is going ICT. ICT is one very, very productive venture anywhere in the world. Are we looking in that direction? ICT can be 10 times bigger than even the oil money we talk about here in Nigeria. So why don't you look inward and begin to invest into such ventures and then digitize everything about Nigeria? Because in doing that, you are going to be putting a proper system in place. There's going to be check and balances. You're also going to be innovative in what you do ICT-wise, which is going to be better for your citizens, going to be better for your nation, and then for people around you. So for the government should look inward and then try to invest also more in short-term projects. And in doing that, you mustn't, I don't advise that you take loan to invest in short-term costs. You can, let me not say loan, foreign loans. You can seek loans within and then invest in short-term projects, because you are taking this loan from within, you are investing it within, you are going to be carrying people within along in whatever you are going to do to actually make this output to service those loans. So let us get our priority right. It's more like fixing a square peg in a square hole. So for me, that is the angle I want to take it from, and I want the government to look at it from that position.
Thank you. So your final take, you said the alternative way out. Now your final take. Okay,
my final take is I think there's still hope. And the situation has not gone beyond redeemable. We can still redeem for whatever. Let us also look as citizens now, as Nigerians, as the masses that are worried about this debt profile. Let us also look inward, do a bit of our research, and then try to understand what these debts are used for, what turnaround can it make, can it stand the terms of reference with regards to the agreement signed on paper. If it is so, then let us worry less and then think positive.
Your final take to the government?
To the government should, it becomes a case of willpower, like I always say.
Yeah.
Because whenever the willpower is there, you put sincerity into play in whatever you want to do. Because the truth is, whatever the blueprint for whatever reasons why you are taking a loan will always give you a positive output. But where the problem is deviation, misappropriation, and then insincerity. That's where the problem is. And then the government should also do as much as putting away misplacement of priority, so that you don't take loan for rail line and then you come to invest it into buying of cars for government officials and the rest of it. You only plunge yourself into further problems.
And the government should also diversify the economy.
Of course, they should diversify. That is why I made mention of human capital and the rest of it. You understand? In doing that, you are diversifying your economy. The government should also pay much attention to agriculture, which can be contained within, if properly harnessed. And you can wonder, you'll be surprised the amount of output or the amount of turnaround.
The agricultural sector, a lot of us eat every day. We
Exactly. In fact, for me, sector, yes, for me, the government has not even tapped 30% into our agricultural potentials. So the government should also look in that directions, and then human capital. Try to also invest in small and medium scales with, as far as the general populace are concerned, because for you to be stable, you must push for your citizens to be stable to an extent. Because it brings down over dependency on the government. So if for economies that are thriving, you now see that the level of dependency on the government by her citizen is quite minimal. That is, everybody is on the street doing one thing or the other to boost their own economy within. And the moment you boost your economy within, it in turn spread out to the larger society. So I think the government should look in the direction of building human capital, investing in agriculture, investing in ICT, and then other ventures that are profitable and can be handled from within.
I thank you, Comrade Morgan Ocheko. We just hope that the government, invest in these sectors for them to be able to pay back the loans as soon as possible, so that the loans don't keep increasing. Instead, it's reducing. Thank you for coming on TVN Business today. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
That's too much we have for you today on TVN Business Daily. I am Chirande Osisiago, and don't forget that you can follow us on all our social media platforms, in Facebook, in YouTube, and of course on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Do have a wonderful day. Bye for now.